you grow up around here?
No. I moved 40 times before I was 14.
Oh, wow.
So, but mostly in Florida. I came up here because Pittsburgh's yielding.
In what regard? Just it's easy to...
Well, so even this conversation about startup incubation and startup ecosystems it's not a discussion we'd be having in Florida.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Is Florida kind of locked into a habit or a behavior?
I don't know. You know, Florida's just, it's very competitive all the time. A lot of people start up small businesses, but it's nothing like here.
Yeah.
The cost of living's lower. There is actual funds that you can reach to. Like Justin and I, we broke into this with nothing really. We came down here, we started building, and even though we were chasing that track that we were talking about, that funding track, we could actually chase it. Like we could actually get to the big names. We could talk to normal people, and people like Don Morrison were right there to speak with. So.
No, I mean that's something you hear pretty frequently in the community is that even the sort of first level potential funders like our limited angel network, they're all very, very helpful people. I mean, they oftentimes, you know, their vision doesn't align, we've discovered, with what we think is important, but they're trying, I think, to honestly express what they see as a path forward for you.
Yeah, they genuinely believe that it is a optimal path. They're there for altruistic reasons a lot of the time.
Yeah. So, like we were saying, that path isn't necessarily that expectation that is floating around entrepreneurship in our culture isn't necessarily good or healthy.
It's
costing.
It's wartime.
Yeah.
Not community.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys run a startup out of tech shop that builds 3D printers.
Well, not just so it is a 3D printer, but it's also more. What we're trying to do is it's part of a whole company vision. Our company's called Kinetic, and we're trying to build modular manufacturing, the kind of tools that makers can use, like they'd use a 3D printer, but that entrepreneurs can use that are precise and powerful enough to create finished products. With the tools that are available to people for free a lot of the times, like Fusion from Autodesk, you can download that for free if you make less than $100,000 a year, right? So you have your 3D software, and then you have your 3D modeling machine, right? So you're not typically able to afford quality 3D modeling machines if you're a entrepreneur, a small business, because good ones run like $16,000 just for the 3D printer.
Sure.
And a lot of companies are making a lot of money off of the distinction between consumer and commercial goods, and we want to dissolve that distinction. So what our machine is it's a CNC mill, it's a 3D printer, and it's a laser cutter. Okay,
all in one unit?
So it is all in one unit, but it's swappable heads.
Okay.
So they're rapid interchange heads, and all of them are very precise. They're 4 microns. So
so they print or CNC to a resolution of 4 microns.
Yes.
It's pretty.
Oh, it's very small.
So that's 5 zeros and a 4.
It is
a micron.
A micron is a thousandth of a millimeter and 16 thousandths of an inch.
That is amazing. I didn't know that the 3D printing technology was that robust.
Oh, it's pretty robust. The open source community has provided a lot of tools so that you can harness that level of precision.
Yeah. So give me a use case, like one of your customers. Like, just take me through like a use case of how this would be used, or what the sale here is. Okay,
so we got a perfect case. Curve Case. He partnered with us. Ben Sachs. He partnered with us because he's a videographer who built us some beautiful content for our Kickstarter. But he represents a lot of what we're trying to reach out to, and that is artisans. He makes these beautiful wooden cell phone cases, iPhone cases.
I know the gentleman that you speak of.
Yes, and so he is manufacturing. We are giving him a lineup of Boxys for his home, for his manufacturing space now, so that he can produce.
So what's a Boxy then? So your company is called
Kinetic Gear.
Kinetic Gear.
And Boxy is the robust bot that you can swap manufacturing capacities.
So the head of this bot takes a 3D printer. The head of this bot takes like a conventional CNC machine cutter.
Yep.
And what's the third one?
Laser.
A laser.
So we figured you're going to need additive manufacturing, you're going to need a subtractive manufacturing, and you're going to need like an embossing function or being able to engrave pictures and patterns.
Yeah, that is amazing. That's awesome. So, I mean, why hasn't anybody done this? Or somebody doing this? Do you have competitors?
So some people have tried interchangeable heads to some degree, but they run into a whole bunch of problems, namely that they're using impoverished components.
Okay.
So what we did instead was we asked what components we needed to make a very, very powerful machine, a machine that can handle constant use and still under constant use maintain the precision and reliability, right?
Yeah.
So we looked for the components and then we worked really hard to source them for the right price. And I don't think that's the direction that other companies took.
So when you say 3D printing, right, like a lot of people think the polyurethane stuff, the plastic stuff, but if you're coupling that with the CNC machine, are you doing sort of the metal 3D printing?
Oh yeah, so on our Kickstarter we have this wonderful example that we milled out, which was a 2-inch cube of brass. And it's this beautiful, I forget, it's like a Miller's cube or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a cube within a cube within a cube.
Yeah.
Oh, and it is gorgeous. So, I'm sorry, I forgot your question. So
is the 3D printer metal printing?
So it's metal modeling, 3D modeling.
Yeah.
So there's something that you can do to get these really complex metal 3D prints.
Okay.
Right. So what you do is you 3D print in plastic, and then you cast it in metal, and it gives you these beautiful exact models. So you can, in a sense, 3D print metal.
Right. Okay. Neat. And so one of the things that you see people holding up about 3D printing is that you can create structures that are only possible. You can create mechanical devices that are only possible with 3D printing, right? That wouldn't carry over though with the casting part of it though necessarily. But in the future you could see perhaps a head that is doing the mold.
Not necessarily with casting. I've seen some objects that you, for the most part, can't produce with mesh networks with internal structures that you could not produce with any kind of machine except for the most expensive, complex CNC milling machines.
So your goal is to, it sounds like, very much create systems so that small businesses can start leveraging a lot of this technology. So what's the price point of what you're building?
So right now, for Kickstarter at least, we are trying to keep the basic machine around $1,500.
That is amazingly cheap.
Yes, especially
buy one for here.
You should. It's gonna go up a little bit for the market because you have this relationship between the perception of quality and your market price.
Sure.
A lot like you get with wine.
Yeah.
You need the right price that's still in discretionary income of a normal person. So we're gonna work on that a little bit. But we still gonna doggedly follow our vision to make sure that someone like us, before we were making any money, can afford a Boxy.
Yeah.
And not just upper middle class. We want to make sure that it's at a price point that anyone can buy if they just went and got a job at McDonald's.
What kind of industries are you guys thinking is sort of your key markets? Like, is it like the auto part? I mean, is it the maker? Like, who are the folks that do you think really are going to see this device and love it?
All right, so there's kind of an extended question on that. I think a lot of people, without sounding too broad, because there's these questions you need to ask more specifically about your markets, especially when you're targeting them. But I believe there's a whole group of people out there that don't know they have the capacity to use these machines and would love them. And I want to reach out to them, especially a lot of small business owners who are stuck in the low-hanging fruits of business. Okay,
so maybe talk me through specifics of that. Like, give me a vision for that.
Okay, so can I give you step-up vision?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So right now, the first people that we're going after, they're the people who see the quickest. They're the early adopters. So there are people who were the first to buy 3D printers.
Okay.
They're the people who anything that comes out, they're usually, if it's novel, they're going to buy it. We're gonna get them. That they right now are our market.
So is that like light manufacturing? Like, who were the first people to kind of buy 3D printers in mass?
Tinkers, makers.
Mainly, yeah.
Right now, they're mainly affluent. I mean, early adopters, they're usually from metropolitan areas. They're usually upper middle class. They have
artists that have some disposable income, or the guy at the wood shop that wants to do something different.
Yep, but they are a platform to reach out to. So I'm going to reach out. My plan is to reach out to these people, get a strong internet base for normal makers after I get the early adopters. And then I'm going to move up to schools because I have a big vision for education as well as small business. And I think that will be a good source of revenue. But then but my real big vision, the thing that really gets my altruistic impulse going is small business, because small business is that middle ground where if people don't see the opportunity in small business, they don't see that they can reach out into something that is financially productive for them. They have to settle. They have to compromise for things that don't meet their self-actualization needs,
or plateau them financially.
Or plateau them financially. They get into a constant struggle, which is not enriching to be in small business in America right now. To live that constant struggle, not knowing whether you're going to be able to pay your bills.
Pay your vendors, pay your lights. We understand very well what you mean.
It's not biologically healthy. So I want to give, I imagine this world, right, where, so right now, corporations, big corporations, they produce these mass-produced goods, and they're for an averaged person.
Yes.
No one in particular, but everyone.
Yes.
And I imagine this world, because I imagine this world where people are out competing these mass productions because they're able to produce things of greater quality in number,
very specific.
That are very specific to a culture, to an individual. And they, as collectives and individuals, they could actually create businesses that sustain them without constant stress.
Yeah, and this would be, we think, globally healthy, because the issue that we have right now is this consolidation of economic energy, right? Like, few people have all the economic capacity. And whereas, say, I don't know, 1,000 years ago, I'm just going to make up a number because I really know historical context, trade was, at best, across regions, but most likely trade was your town, right? Like, that you're bartering, you're selling sheep for grain or however it worked, and you're manufacturing to a need, is I think, more to your point.
It's a more empathetic.
Yeah.
World. I mean, because you're constantly in the context of your market. You're constantly looking and saying, "Hey, my friend over there, he has a very specific need. I feel his pain.
Yes,
I will produce a product that I've inspired to create, and I'll get it to him." And I with large scale business, you constantly have to scale to survive, and it's like you were telling me earlier. It's not healthy because you have to overtax your environment socially, financially. You don't work with your friends based on their need. You have to crush your friends to get past them many times to get to a point where you can survive, because to survive you have to make war.
Right.
Yeah,
and your labor is not important to you. Like, the people that are doing the labor have to be dehumanized and commoditized. For just look at the iPhone, right? Like, or the Apple Watch. Like, it was on good old Larry Wilmore show last night. Like, trying to remind people that those rare earth minerals that make our semiconductors come from the Congo and are essentially mined at gunpoint. And the Chinese Foxconn factory where people jump off the building because the 19-hour days make your brain cook and you just commit suicide eventually. Like, we as Americans, as consumers, we just really impact the world, and it's this large-scale hierarchical system.
Yeah, and there's never been... So people constantly try to politically fix the problems, right? They see it as a problem. They came from a philosophy major, right? Yeah. And they are a political sci major, and they're like, I'm going to fix this. Yeah. but it's the people who create solutions, like this wonderful red blue voice. Oh my gosh, what a great creation to solve a complex problem.
Yes, maybe ahead of its time, perhaps. It didn't seem to get quite the support that we had hoped for.
I think that this is a little, it's close to its time.
It's coming. Perhaps it's going to make a rebirth. I can hear Jim, Jen, and FabLab cringing right now as I say, I'm going to turn it back on. That's interesting. And we're very much, and I hate to use the word philosophical, but that's like where we come from too. It's that technology is either going to destroy us or it's going to give us this opportunity to bring it back down to a human interaction level, right? It's going to be able to bring these microeconomies back that are going to really allow communities to feel like communities again. So instead of buying this homogenous product from a completely different part of the world, you're forced to, you're not forced, but you're compelled to go and talk to your neighbor and have that relationship. And that's, we think, more healthy.
Yeah, and in that relationship, your appetites are satiated.
Yeah.
But in this kind of economy where they're constantly foisting upon you all these different products and they're generating actual need as opposed to meeting a need.
Right, like the Apple Watch comes to mind.
Yeah, you're getting some innovation, but you possibly but people are never fulfilled, and so you get the scalability problem.
Right, so you're telling me if I buy the $10,000 Apple Watch with the $700 insides, I'm not going to be fulfilled as a human being?
I don't know. That's really up to you, man.
Oh man! So you are doing a Kickstarter to do what? I guess. What's the point of the Kickstarter?
So the point of the Kickstarter is simply this: we have produced everything we need to manufacture this. We've tested it. Mm-hmm. We've made sure that our supply chains are strong, and right now we just need it to manufacture. So in some sense, we're using old style manufacturing to produce a new style of manufacturing, and that our Kickstarter is to do that.
What's the ask going to be?
So our ask right now is, it depends on what package you get. We have, of course, there are different rewards. So the first one starts at $14.99, I believe, and then we go as high as an educational package, which is like $75, and that's multiple machines. $7,500. But for the full machine right now, with the package, it's like $2,500, I think. And
how much are you trying to raise total?
So right now we surpassed our goal. I checked last night. I'm sure it's higher today, but we surpassed it by 100. We're at 161%.
Cool. So is that $20,000, $100,000?
So we were $80,000 when I fell asleep.
Wow.
Less than 2 days.
You are fucking rocking it.
Yeah, so.
What do you need this podcast
go Kickstarter.
for? You're doing
I want to be here, especially after talking to you.
Yeah,
you have a great vision.
That is awesome. And if I can scrape together the money, I'm going to buy one. Just because I think it's going to be neat to have one here. And you're right down the street, so when it breaks...
I am, yeah.
Dude.
Get over here. Fix my machine.
That is awesome, man. Congratulations. Because
Thanks.
That's, I mean, the reason people love these crowdfunding campaigns is because they validate your idea more than they give you money, right? And so you've instantly validated... everything you're saying right here, right? Like there is a momentum and a culture of people out there that want to see this change back down to these smaller economies and economies of relationship, and that's really what it sounds like this product's all about. Yeah. So how many of these do you think you're going to manufacture then?
So right now we figure we want to manufacture 1,000. So we're shooting for a goal of about 400. Cool. But we can manufacture almost as many as we need to.
And so shipping on these would be 7-8 months from now, you think?
We're shooting for 6 months from the end of the Kickstarter, so 7 months, yeah. That way we can get all our components. We have some safety features we're going to install, and we want to make sure that we are able to do that.
Don't put your hand in the CNC machine.
Yeah, so... but that's about it.
So where can people go to, I guess first we want to direct people to the Kickstarter. So we'll put we'll put the URL up on the podcast for that. But can you say it, like what's the campaign called?
It's Boxy Kickstarter.
BoxZY.
Yep, BoxZY.
On Kickstarter.
Yep.
And you'd like to sell a bazillion of these, I suspect.
Oh, I would. I would love to sell a bazillion.
How big's your team?
Right now, We've got my brother, who's the co-creator of Boxy, and then we have Benjamin Sachs, Olga Pagoda, Sandy Roman, and Kelly Lowry. Who am I forgetting? I think I covered them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys all engineers? Like, what's your background? How did you get from who you are to this point?
So Justin is about as close to an engineer as you get without the college. He's a brilliant engineer, great at systems. Ben Sachs and Dan Lynch, who have been doing our product testing, they're artisans. Ben Sachs comes from a background of architecture, and Olga got her degree, I believe, in international marketing.
Oh, that's good for you. It's a helpful thing to have.
Oh, yeah, she's very helpful. I got a degree in philosophy and psychology. And
how's that working out for you?
Wonderful, actually. Philosophy has served me so well.
Yeah.
Psychology, some teachers really impacted me because they let me do my own thing.
Yeah.
So
what school of philosophy would you say resonates most with you?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's hard because I'm very eclectic. I look at philosophy like a toolbox, and I find something, and then
What's the thing you read to put yourself in a relaxed state before you?
If I want to relax myself, I read Hume.
Yeah. Interesting. And so, what about that?
Or Nietzsche. I enjoy Nietzsche. Marx, I enjoy because Marx gave he gave a wonderful. He extended himself too far, but he gave a wonderful critique of capitalism, and it's like philosophical candy. And he's like, when you take people's products away, this is something I've been talking about a lot.
That's okay.
When you take people's products away, and you take them and they're building other people's products and they never have ownership psychologically of that object.
Yeah.
You take away their meaning because people get their sense of identity from the things that they create around them. And
so when you stick 1,000 Chinese people into a Foxconn factory,
they have no meaning.
Yeah.
They're barely human anymore. It's as if you have murdered them because you're forcing them into a cycle that they can't.
Yeah.
Where they can't get that kind of Rogerian growth, that self-actualization. And that's one of the things about Boxy that I love. And the reason our vision is etched the way it is, that it's formed the way it is, because it's built around that core of creating something where people can create themselves again.
Yeah. We are obsessed right now with this idea that there's this thing called progressive entrepreneurship that doesn't exist in our culture. Like, we're obsessed with this idea that entrepreneurship's been co-opted by sort of purebred capitalists, and they're very conservative in their thinking, and that somebody needs to come and redefine entrepreneurship more to what you guys are doing. They're
making a move for that, but the money still talks.
Money absolutely talks, and the only way that, and this was the question I was going to pose you, so I don't want to answer. So, you hear about even in our culture today, and this is 50 years after the Cold War, communism and socialism and Marxism and anything that is even mildly critical of our current capitalistic system is a dirty word. Like, you're not allowed to say those things because it's unpatriotic, or it's...
Just watch Fox News for a little while.
I don't have cable, but yeah.
So I watch Fox News when I go over to family members' house, and as a philosophy major, it's horrific, but as a psychology major, it's very interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, they're doing it because it works, right? Like,
it really works, but
it's sad that it works. But so how do we change that conversation nationally? How do we make it so that capitalism can be critically evaluated? What's the...
I think that discussion is already happening in a very real way. The simple truth is that, so one of the capitalism's done something very interesting, but I'll bracket that. There was informational and resource asymmetry, right? There's still a very large resource asymmetry, but that prevented people from really getting a good hit in on the system. But right now you have internet networks which fuse people with communication, right? And now you're getting tools which empower them to actually create goods. Like I hope Boxy is going to be for, I hope it's going to be a cultural wave. That's, that's my vision, but I think that's already happening. And I think a lot of it happens through things like this. I'm impressed with this, if you can tell. They come through actual people who are willing. So for instance, I looked at it and I have high altruistic needs. Mm-hmm. It's the reason I chose philosophy and psychology, because I wanted to heal people. Mm-hmm. It's a need, not so much, like, oh, I'm, holy. Yeah. It's like a hunger, and
it's giving you meaning, right? Like
it is giving me very real meaning.
It's very easy not to have meaning, so it's whatever works for you to give yourself meaning. I'm all for.
So I realized, I asked myself, I was like, how could I best serve the world without being megalomaniac about it, right? And I realize it's people, if you're going to really serve the world, you have to look at the systems that are there, and you have to empathize with them. Mm-hmm. And then you have to create solutions for them that gently guide them in the right directions.
Because if you do it in a polarizing way, it just backlashes against you. So
yeah,
you see huge steps in social change, you see the opposite sort of convention regain traction 10, 15 years later.
Yeah, because people, so it's really funny. I'm really fascinated with faith. Mm-hmm. Faith is a feeling, right? Yeah. It's not just, it's a feeling that has a compulsion behind it. Mm-hmm. And it's action guiding. So I've done a little bit of research into it, and it turns out that when you rebut somebody in a polarizing way and they're allowed to argue back to you mm-hmm. and monologue you or whatever, they actually, their faith gets stronger. And the more actual disconfirmation you give them, the more firmly they believe their belief. Yeah. The more they actually actualize that belief into action.
Yes.
And so I never want to do that. But solutions, there's something really interesting, that faith and context matter. Mm-hmm. People believe when they look at themselves, they believe what they do. They believe that they are what they do. Mm-hmm. And their practices determine their beliefs a lot of times. So when you start changing people's practices, you start giving them other outlets, they change. Shift. That's the paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. And the internet's really provided a lot of that. And now with all the tools, the open source community, mm-hmm. the startup incubators.
Yeah. So let's end this podcast, because I feel like we should do a complete separate one, because you and I have very similar structures of belief, it sounds like. Go to BoxZY.com, BoxZY.com, is that right?
Yep, BoxZY.com.
Go to the Kickstarter and buy one of these devices. What do you call these devices?
We're calling them desktop FabLabs.
Desktop FabLabs. Go and buy a desktop FabLab from the Kickstarter, right?
Yep.
And what's the other? Is there another call to action that we're missing? You got a Twitter?
Oh no, go to our Twitter. Go to our Kickstarter first, though.
Go to the Kickstarter.
You can get us at BoxyCNC.
Cool. Okay, Joel, thanks, man. I think this is awesome. This is exactly what we need economically, so we'll do our best to push it out.